I can do this in just a couple minutes here. I have to explain a little more about the difference in the currencies, the two types of currency. The one that's like the long-term currency, which is the national, international thing, and the short-term currency, which is the regional thing, which is the personal thing. These were the two types of currencies that were previously in play. And the reason that the regional currencies got forced out of play is because the powerful people didn't want other people to be powerful. So basically they're cutting off their nose to spite their face, because when you kill the power of the individuals to create value, you're undercutting your whole society, and the whole society is the base of wealth. Okay, the basis of wealth, you're cutting the whole thing. So, but there are people, basically what happened is in the Middle Ages, I'll get really, really fast, and what you should do is you should see this video by this man. Now, I'm also going to forget his name, but he produced a video called Digital Coin, and then there was another video that he produced about how paper money came into being, which is real interesting, and that's the one that I'm playing off of right now. Okay, see, all of this is popular stuff. I haven't done any seriously studied economy, because the study of the economy is full of obfuscatory terminology, okay? It's full of obfuscation, it's full of a bunch of stupid stuff that nobody needs to know, and basically it's a lot of confusing things that have people, their heads going, ooh, everybody just doesn't know. People don't know what's going on because they don't want you to know what's going on, because that wasn't good for those in power up until now. So this is all going to sound really political, and I don't want it to sound that way, but basically what's going on. We had two types of currency. You had the currency on the regional level, that is the local currency, that is the people dealing with each other kind of thing. And then you had these powerful people, basically the kings, okay, the monarchs, and those in control, and they had the hard, the hard stuff, the metals, that's where that term hard currency comes from. The precious metals, the gems, etc., and they didn't want to let go of any of that, of course. And basically people were forced to use that sort of thing in trade with each other over distances. In other words, I can't give you a promise to pay you bread if the village where you got to get the bread is 30 miles away. Can't do that, okay? So we have local economies, people deal with each other, and those local economies remain healthy as long as there's a lot of trade, if a lot of stuff is going around. Like my sister says, the more you do, the more you get done, okay? So people doing stuff, making bread, growing crops, producing whatever it is, meat, fishing, whatever they do. Okay? And then we're talking about feudal economy here. Okay? Then you have this king who's over this area and has all these serfs, okay? And basically is bleeding them dry, okay? He's just bleeding the economy for everything that it's worth. At some point during this historical period that we're calling the Renaissance, I think, the merchants became too powerful, and the little guys started to come up. They started to get too powerful, and they didn't really, the kings, the monarchs couldn't be in control anymore, because the middle class started to come up, okay? So now this is why we find that people are getting richer and people are getting poorer, and the middle class is always getting forced out, because whenever you have a healthy middle class, that means that your economy is good, that things in the economy are really good if the middle class is healthy. When the middle class starts to get squeezed out, then you know that from the top down somebody's manipulating the power structure so that they get squeezed out. Because when you have a healthy middle class, you can't send people to war, and basically that is what was happening at the end of when the Vietnam War was closed down by all of the protesting, because the middle class they were starting to draft these people into the army who didn't want to go, who were basically too highly educated and had too much possibility in their lives and didn't want to miss the rest of their lives by going to Vietnam and getting blown to bits and killing people that they didn't know and didn't have any quarrel with. Okay, so that was that was happening at the end of the Vietnam War. We had too much middle class getting involved in the situation, and that's why the war had to end, because they all started protesting. Okay, the 1968 convention, Chicago Democratic Convention in Chicago, and all this stuff was happening because we had the middle class was too powerful for the controlling class, for the robber baron controllers to tolerate. Okay, so what we had in the Middle Ages, around the time of the Renaissance, was that the kings were losing power, and they didn't know how to keep power. So what they did was they developed these legal tender laws and also the charters of corporations to squelch the wealth in the middle class. So to keep things highly polarized between rich and poor. Okay, at some point, we had this hard currency, hard meaning literally hard. In other words, gold, silver, any precious metals, gems, diamonds, this sort of thing. This is hard currency. This is money, cash. Okay, and then we had people bartering with each other, but the system of barter is really clumsy. So somebody came up with the idea at some point of exchanging vouchers with each other. Now those vouchers were exchanged on a local basis. In other words, inside the marketplace, and you can see that in this wonderful video. I wish I could remember that young man's name. I think his first name is Daniel. He's a Canadian, and he did a video called Digital Coin. And it's probably digitalcoin.com or something like that. You can find that. And there's another one that's really good. It's talking about just this thing that I'm talking about. So somebody developed vouchers so that people traded vouchers with each other. Like, I will give you some bread from my shop. Okay, the voucher was good for a loaf of bread or 2 loaves of bread or how much ever it was worth. Then somebody else would give a voucher for chickens. I will give you so many chickens. Okay, or so many pounds of meat. Somebody else gave a voucher for whatever it was that they had, and people started trading these vouchers with each other. And this is supposedly, and it's as plausible an idea as I can find, the start of paper currency. Okay, now this paper currency was developed by people at the bottom, down here, where they didn't have access to the hard currency, which was being hoarded by the upper class, the controlling robber barons, monarchs. Those people were controlling this hard currency and trying to make everybody use that currency. Those people down at the bottom, where all of the value is produced, because let's face it, there are no kings who are going to go into a mine and haul up, carts of ore to be smelted into gold. They don't do that stuff. All of the wealth of the earth is produced by the little guys, okay? And somebody capitalizes on that. Somebody takes their cut. Now, for what reason do they think that we owe that to them? I don't know. Some structure of power is there, and they can point a gun at you and say, you'll go to jail if you don't pay these taxes, whatever it is, okay? Okay, so all of the value is being produced at the bottom. Don't forget that. The value that turns into dollars, that ends up being in these big companies, in these multinational corporations, is produced by you and you alone. The big corporations don't produce any value. They simply capitalize on it. They profit off of it. They parasitize it. The value is produced by you, the little guy. And nobody else. Nobody else but the little guy is producing this value. Who's doing all the work in all of the corporations at the lowest level? You. The managerial, what are they doing? They're bossing you around. Okay. It's true. Who's producing the product? Who's on the production line? The lowest paid worker. The little guys. Okay? Don't ever forget that.